So just a few words about this session. So as you know, it's a special space here. It's called Reinventing the Way We Work. So the idea is to bring a different voice to this tech conference, where we talk about culture, we talk about leadership, we talk about the future of work. Basically, we open perspectives. We bring like new ideas, and we thought that would be a great conclusion, for these 2 days. Bring leaders and get their perspectives about the future of work, right? So in a few minutes, I'm gonna ask them to introduce themselves. So the format for this discussion, personally, I find it very, very boring, when the moderator speaks too much, and it's very, and everything is very, very scripted. So I'm just gonna ask, 2 or 3 questions, and after that, you'll have the opportunity to ask your own questions, and they will answer the questions. That works for you? Yay! All right. Okay. So yeah. So without further ado, who are you guys? Yeah.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. That's a lot of pressure on me. Okay. Sure. All right. My name is Jessie Xia. I'm the managing director for Thoughtworks Southeast Asia. Currently, I'm overseeing 2 countries, Singapore and Thailand. So Thoughtworks is a global software consultancy, and myself has been in the company for 13 years. So I joined in Thoughtworks China in 2005, and I moved to Singapore 3 years ago. So in my current role, I'm certainly responsible for operations results, company strategy, and then how to continue improve our software delivery excellence, and also develop a new capability as well. Yeah, and also in my journey in Thoughtworks, I have been doing quite a few different roles, from consulting and also operations. So really know a very wide spectrum of this company. Thank you. Who wants to go back?
Okay. Thank you, Jessie. My name is Vincent. Hi, everyone. I am French, like a couple of us today. Yeah. Surprisingly, yeah. Thank you, Sylvain. I've been working and living in Asia for the past 10 years. I arrived in 2009 in Singapore, then moved to Hong Kong, then Shanghai, back to Singapore. And I've been setting up and running businesses in the tech space, in the F&B business, as well in the education industry. I'm the managing director at Palo IT, as it's written on my beautiful T-shirt. And what it means, well, I'm still defining it, and I hope today I'll get some answers. Yeah. All right. Charles?
Thanks. My name is Charles. I'm French as well. I've been in Indonesia now for 7 years. Just recently exploring a bit Singapore, since we opened an office here. I'm the founder and CEO of OnlinePajak. It's a tax application to help Indonesian companies and taxpayers handle their administrative burden with simplicity, with ease, and almost joy. Almost joy. Yeah, that's basically it about myself.
Thanks, Charles. My name is Ravi. I am CEO and founder of an enterprise training company called SpringPeople. It's a 10-year-old company. We are now the biggest company for training in India. First time in Singapore for myself. I come from Bangalore, a city with a lot of IT and more of traffic, and having a good time here. Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Azoury from Zenika, CEO and co-founder. I'm French too. Basically, I was for 10 years a software architect, developer, playing a lot of video games. And I say to myself that this is too much virtual, and I wanted to construct something more in the real world. So this is how Zenika started, and now we are 500 people, and in France, Singapore, and Montreal.
Thank you very much. So the other day I was reading this study that says that in the US. I think by 2030 or 2035, like 30% of the jobs, will probably disappear. So there are really massive, changes happening in the workplace these days. So and the first question I want to ask to our panelists is, according to them, what are the key trends that are really shaping the future of work? My invitation is that we are just getting on the time machine, and not back to the future, but go to the future and see, with let's say 10 years from now, 15 years from now, how the new workplaces will look like. Want to start?
Interesting question. So I hope I'll be retired by then. No, 10, 15 years from now, I think Skynet will have take over the world, nuke the entire planet, and humans will be living underground, surviving. No, we have. I'm sure we'll have a much brighter future than this. When it comes to work, I think, and future of work, there are three dimensions we need to look at. First one is work itself. So it's going to be completely changed by technology, obviously. Automation, artificial intelligence will completely redefine what does it mean to work, what's work, and how it applies to people. The second dimension is workforce, the people themselves. Nowadays, if you look at the talent continuum, we have permanent positions. You have people on permanent contracts in companies. 10, 15 years from now, we'll move to a gig economy where people will be distributed, will be scattered across the world, and we'll have teams leveraging on technology to work and to collaborate digitally. And the third, and it's linked to the third thing, which is the workplace. Offices, as we know them, won't exist anymore. We'll be able to work from the beach, from pretty much everywhere, anytime. So I think it's not positive or negative. It's what's going to be the challenge is how do we operate those changes? How do we apply those changes in current organizations? And how do we develop a human machines relationship? I think these are the things that are going to be interesting to look after in the coming years.
I feel 30 or 10, 20 or 30 years from now, meaning will prevail actually in the work. When I started that company, the first few people who joined me, they were not necessarily coming for a salary or anything. They were really looking for a journey or a venture. And I really feel that's more and more where we are going. You'll have more and more short-term partnerships. Even they are not employment, but they'll be partnerships. That you'll have people assembling together for a purpose and for a journey. I think 100 years ago, people used to work in the same company all their life. It's less and less the case. And what will make it happen is the meaning we give to what we do. I'm quite clear about this.
Thank you. It's interesting. Those two gentlemen mentioned one thing is the work and the job can be disconnected in the future, right? So there are gig economy, and then you may not belong to a job but doing work. So I'm just curious. Maybe there's no concept of retirement in 20 years, so you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. So you just can enjoy what you do, and then without a kind of formal job. So I guess I want to touch a little bit on the workplace. So a lot of people, they're thinking about not only work from the office. Certainly they can stay with the team, but the other people feel, can we work remotely, which is already happening. And then in the future, it's more easily can work from everywhere on the beach, etc. And then the technology really enable that. For example, like the AR, VR type of technology can really make you be with the team together, even you are not physically together. I mean, it's not too far away. Even our team, we are distributed globally. We are in the 15 countries, have 40 offices. Even some offices have to collaborate very closely. So we actually use always-on video, which you can see the person all the time. Certainly there are time zone overlap. So some of the offices you can have a more overlap. So it's pretty easy to talk to each other. So I guess this is really something we should imagine in the future, and then as leaders, how we can manage that. Still make sure there's sufficient communication and people still have bonding. when they are distributed in many different locations.
Perfect. Thanks, Jessie. So I think pretty much these three guys have covered what's coming up. I think definitely one thing I totally agree with Vincent. Automation along with intelligence, along with the smartness that is being pumped into the machines will really help us, the workforce of tomorrow, to focus more on intelligent work rather than doing the mundane kind of repetitive task. I think that change we are definitely going to see. And I think humans will be more involved where real intelligence and smartness is required rather than repetitive kind of work. I think the other change that I have been seeing over the past decade or so is, I think if you think about our father's generation, or kind of, when we graduated, at that time, most of the jobs were in the big companies, the big organizations, where employees were just employees, just kind of doing what they were told to do. I think there has been quite a lot of shift in the last 1 decade, where a lot of small and medium enterprises have mushroomed all over the world, where the employees are more like partners. They really feel that I'm working for myself rather than the organization, or to a certain extent, if not fully. And I think that is kind of becoming a trend. Instead of everyone working for Fords and GMs and GE and IBMs, I see our kids probably, or the next generation, will see working for small enterprises or having their own enterprises. I think this change is going to come up in a big way over the next 1 or 2 decades.
Just to complete quickly, I see 2 things, future of work, and it's like also a dream, but I think it's possible. First of all, in many places, all the work is concentrated in buildings, in cities. Okay, Singapore is a small country, but if you take France, a few cities, and even some cities, some areas, and everything is concentrated in those places. So my belief is that like in 20 years, 30 years, the work will be distributed on the whole territory. Not specifically remotely, but in some offices, like campuses, where all the facilities to do sports, culture, whatever, so you can really have a time at work and benefit from a lot of services. So distributing remotely the work, and I think also this is a trend, because I think the digital allows to relocalize a lot of things. And it's also something that will be nice and a good trend for all the ecology, etc., because less transport. So we'll still remain teams, but in separate locations and not in the same, not many teams in one building. And the second thing is indeed we think of the future like technology that will create massive unemployment. I don't think so. My view is more positive, that technology will remove all the repetitive, etc. tasks, and so we'll have a lot of services and dedicated time to be more human and more interactions between the people, because we'll have more time for that, because the time that we use for repetitive tasks will be done by the technology.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks. I think now that we've drawn, a picture, of how the future of work will look like, and we see that definitely there are like many trends, shaping it. My question is going to be like a bit more personal now. It's about, we say that leaders go first. That, so we know that organizations need to adapt. Organizations as we know them today, they won't work. So we need to change the operating system. And you guys, you are the ones, crafting the culture, shaping the culture, being the gardeners of the culture of your organization. And I'm really wondering what you do on a daily basis to embody, the new behaviors that you want to promote in order for your team, your organization to be future of work proof or future of work ready and still be around in like 20, 30, 50 years, right? Who wants to go first? Maybe from the other side?
Yep. And we talk about our personal object or later? Okay. So no, just one thing for me, very quick. It's to be like in events like this and other events, meeting other leaders to get inspired. A lot of things that I applied in the company also came from what I've seen from other leaders, other companies. So it's exactly like technology, going outside, getting information, and so you can come better to organize things. So to get inspired, this is the most important thing.
So, Sylvain, I think your question was, what do we do in the organization to kind of be future ready? Honestly, I don't think I really think so much about being future ready. I think in my small organization, being relevant in current economy is very important for me right now. Being able to have a sustainable business. So I think I focus a lot on that. I think we'll come back to that later about leadership and all those things. So I think for me right now, being relevant in the present is more important right now.
Yeah, I guess my organization probably the largest among this panelists, and also from my 13 years experience, I did work in the company when there's an office only less than 10 people grew to 600 people or even bigger. And I think the very important thing for leader is be adaptive. So you behave when, in different size, the leader will do different things. So you need to keep changing yourself to make sure you're adaptive. Like what do you do is like current small organization, you probably focus on the current one, but when go bigger, looking at a different thing. So for me, currently, my day-to-day is quite changed a lot than previously. So currently, certainly as a leader, doing a lot of things like getting information outside what car is doing as well, absorbing information, make sure we stay relevant for the market, looking at the future. The other things, I do a lot of internal communications. So we say management transparency. That takes a lot of effort, which I actually regularly visiting our project teams to do Q&As and then getting feedback from them, communicating the company level of vision, mission, those directions, etc. And I guess other things, meeting a lot of clients. This is also the two-way communication, getting information from them to see what they are looking at. Also, spreading some information to them about what other clients who are more advanced, what they do to disrupt their business as well. So I guess my current size, this things I do, but I can foresee probably going forward next year, I will certainly tweak my scope of doing a little bit different things as well. Yeah.
For us, it's of course a work in progress, but really the vision for our organization is a kind of incubator, basically. I'd love to see a lot of spin-offs actually coming out of our organization, where you have one core that provides financing, that provides methodologies, that provides the basic supplies for a team to perform. And then I'd love to see a lot of small entrepreneurial teams just working on their own products, and if needed, spin-off. I don't believe in employment on the long run. I much more believe in partnership and entrepreneurship than pure employment. And this is clearly our vision. It's a lot of work because it needs the management to be ready for that, to completely let go on strategy, on vision, and this kind of thing. But it needs also the employees to be ready to just take over the thing and carry their own destiny somehow. And that's why it's still a work in progress for us. But that's clearly where we would like to go.
Thanks, guys, for your insight. I'm going to bounce a bit on your point about giving meanings, because who's going to work in organization in 15, 20 years from now? People who are maybe not even born yet. So, and we know that the coming generations, they have different aspirations. They don't have the same aspiration as, our generation. I consider us as the same generation, okay, guys? So the idea is the people and the future partners, workers that will be in a relationship with, professional relationship with, they will want a meaning. They will want a purpose. They will want to align their personal beliefs with their professional beliefs. So we need to prepare for that. We need to offer a space in organizations where you can thrive not only as a professional but as an integrated human being. An organization, that's what they need to go into. Not only looking at workers as workers, but as human beings. How do you enhance human beings? How do you make them grow and basically help them to be more integrated? So that's one aspect. The second aspect is we don't know what the future is going to be like. We can anticipate. We have studies. We have algorithm telling us, okay, it's going in this direction. The truth is we don't know for sure. So The second thing you need to instill in your organization is this change mindset. It's to provoke curiosity. It's to tell people change is coming and you need to embrace it. You don't need to be afraid of change. So as a leader, I would say preparing our teams for change, it's more important to tell them, okay, this is where the technology is going, or this is the direction. Yes, it's important. And I think what you guys shared about, okay, getting inspiration from outside, from clients, from thought leaders, that's super important. I would add to this, prepare your teams for change. And this is a mindset shift kind of exercise that you guys need to apply to your organizations.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was thinking that, the other day I was watching a video about the future, and that the organizations that will make it are the ones they are the fastest learners. That really the number one currency is learning. So, and we know that if we want to learn, we need to try. And if we try, we're probably gonna fail. That makes me think of kids, for instance. When you have kids, a few people have kids, so they fail all the time. But that's how we learn. That's how they develop, they grow, and they develop new resources, new skills. And so, in order for us to learn, we need to fail. We need to let it go of something. And back to the topic of this, this panel discussion, which is again like leaders go first, and how you embody change. I'm really curious, what is it that you had to let it go of in your journey so far? Something that you thought was true, and you learned, or maybe the hard way, I don't know, that actually, that belief, I had to challenge that belief. I had to replace that belief with another one. For this one, you see, they don't want to answer, right? Who wants to start? You want to try?
I think after graduation, I think for me it was the yardstick for success used to be money. So when I graduated, I had those dreams, this is what I need to earn before I can call myself successful. This is what I need to earn 5 years down the line. This is what I need to earn 10 years down the line. That used to be my yardstick. And looking all around me with a lot of people talking, that is what I keep to hear. Yeah, this guy is making so much money, and this guy has made so much, and all those things. So for a very long time, for good 8 or 10 years, money was the yardstick for me for success. Even until I started my company, I think money was the yardstick. I had this thing, okay, this is what I need to make. Just when I started the company, I realized that no, it's not going to be money. It's going to be, how do I feel about working? In the very initial days, I found that no, it's the joy of working that is going to be my yardstick, and it's not money. And it was kind of tough. You have to tell yourself and kind of compromise with your ego as well. No, the other person is making more money, but you can call yourself more successful if you are happier than him. So you need to create your own race and let go money. So I think that was a big decision for me when I started SpringPeople at that kind of 10 years back.
It's a tough question. When you found a company, you create a company, you do a lot of things, it changes every time. When the company is growing very fast, also the job changes every time, the organization changes every time. I'm used to say that every 6 months, 1 year, we have to change the organization because it's not the same size. And so a belief I had is that everyone can take this change easily and adapt easily. But in fact, now I know it's totally wrong, and people have to be, we need to help people, most of them, help them to do this change. It's not natural. So the habits that we can have as a founder, it's not the same habits for everyone. So to help them do the change. And the second thing is really about the mindset, the project. People join a company, they're happy, etc. But then the company evolves, and you think that they can continue the journey with you, but sometimes they just don't want because they're looking for other project aspirations. And so this is another thing that I had a belief that change is that at some point, when you are in a company, even with a lot of meaning, etc., you're not meant to stay 5 years, 10 years. It really depends on your personal goals. So this can change, and you have to accept that people will leave the company, etc. It has nothing to do with you, but it's just that they want to do other things.
Okay. So it's a very hard question for me. I guess for my day-to-day work and life, there are certain lot of things, small things I need to unlearn, but big things, I guess maybe just one is very common for a lot of women. I guess when I grew up, pretty happy, even not rich family, but I have very good parents, so everything was very happy. So but I didn't ever expect I would be a leader in the organization, and I feel like one is a lack of confidence, and the other is I feel I don't have to do that. There are a lot of great people there already. So, but over time, I was given the opportunity, and then there are a few times. I was sort of like forced to take some leadership roles. And then there's one day I really realized, I say, hey, I shouldn't just keep pushing back. I can do this. Even I probably don't have the skill sets, 100% skill set right now, but, try it. Don't be afraid of failure. And I wasn't afraid of failure anyway. So started, and then realized other things. It's not only for myself. So when I'm able to play a leadership role in the organization, I see the ratio for women leaders increasing in the organizations too. Currently in my Singapore team, I have 50% of my leadership team are women. And I didn't really push really hard to say, you have to do this role. I didn't do anything unfair to, downgrade men to do that. But they are just naturally really good performers, and they were recommended by their colleagues and then to play a very important role. So I guess this is a big thing I unlearned and feel, yes, it's doable. Yeah.
On my side, basically, when I started this company, I really wanted to fix a problem. And it's insanely painful as the company grows to stop fixing things. It's very, very hard to stop from building something to go to managing, and that's very, 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 very painful. It's still painful today, but I'm getting used to it. My job desk somehow has evolved with the company, and what at some point you can really ask yourself, okay, is it what I want to do in the next 5 or 10 years of my life? Even though you've built that company, you sign. It's not exactly what you signed up for at the beginning, and that's a super painful transition as the company grows. But still, it's interesting, and hopefully I still find meaning in what I do in the morning, so that's okay. But it's very painful. It was very painful, and it's still painful.
Do I have time to answer this? Okay, cool. When I became a leader, leader or leadership, it's an interesting concept. You have several dimensions to leadership. You have everyone is a leader in the room. You lead yourself. So that's where you need to start with yourself. Then you need to lead others when you take a leadership position, and then you do work. So you lead tasks. You lead work itself. So looking at leading yourself, when I became a leader in organizations, first one was my cultural filter. Moving to Asia, we have ways of doing things, ways of understanding things in Europe that are completely different here. Singapore, yes, you have a lot of cultural differences. I spent 3 years in China, and that's where you see the gap. And the thought process, the way people read emotions, instructions, the way they understand the world is totally different, a different paradigm. So you have to let go of your personal beliefs and cultural beliefs. It's very hard to take your nationality and everything you've learned at school that was the single source of truth and put it to the side and grab what I call the kid's eye approach, where you discover everything for the first time. That was one when it comes to personal leadership. Leading others, it's how do you accept failure personally as well as others' failure? Because when you become a leader, it's very difficult to delegate. That was one of my challenge when I became a leader, was to give away work I was good at and I was doing. that was a very, very big challenge for me. So giving away this, delegating this is a great way to grow others, but it's also very frustrating, so you need to work on this. And then leading the task, leading the work, it's about, once again, delegation and putting a clear boundary on work-life balance. I think I learned that when I started as a leader, I tend to work if you have 24 hours in a day, you said 12 hours at work, 12 hours at home. I was more 18 hours focused on work and the remaining on personal life. So I had to push back a lot of things and to put the, to draw the line in the middle again. So that was what I learned about being in the leadership position.
Thank you. Thanks for being vulnerable. I think it's really a first an important step, to become a conscious leader. And I think if we want our organizations to become places of meaning, places of purpose, I think they need to be led by conscious leaders. So thank you for that. One last question. You see, it's going to be a very fun one before we open the floor to questions. So I asked the panelists to bring something, can be an object, can be a concept, can be an idea, that represents their journey as leaders. So I'm very, very curious to hear, what you came up with. Who wants to start? Jessie?
Actually, I'm supposed to bring my iPad. I really forgot this morning. So I do have a book. Yeah, this book, I hope you can see this. The book called Drive. Written by Daniel Pink, and this published in, I think, 2011, 2010, around that time. So I read the book around that time, which is a very eye-opening thing. I can say this is one of the books which changed my life. There are a few books I read a lot, but there are a few books really have a big impression to me. So the reason I'm talking about this is actually in part of my career, I was playing the role as a people lead, which is managing people, HR, recruitment, etc. So I was a very people-centric person and then really care about every single aspect about how we motivate people. But before that, there are a lot of academic, paper talking about other kind of factors. Until this book, I thought it could really give a really, really good points. The other things, as the time I have been working in Thoughtworks for quite some 5-6 years already. And I found there are many things talking in the books very similar with what we do in Thoughtworks. And the time I was wondering how Thoughtworks works in that way. But the book really told me why. And there are a lot of reasons behind people's motivation. So I think by reading this kind of book, giving you whys, and then you are able to learn a lot by yourself and do it better. So I think this is always the book I can think about and refer it to it and keep learning even after I read this for 7 years. Yeah.
On mine, the personal thing, I didn't bring anything. I'll tell you a story. It's a video actually. So when I was younger, my dad used to be CEOs in big companies in Europe or managing directors in smaller companies. And when I was younger, he told me, I asked him, what do you do for a living? Because when you're 5-6, you don't really understand what your parents are doing. And he told me, well, my main job is to put my head where other people wouldn't put their hands. Where when you're 5-6, it's, okay, I put my head there with your hands. Okay, I don't really understand what it means. Then I moved to the US with my mom. My parents got divorced when I was around 10. And I was second year in middle school in the US, and one night I came back home, I was watching TV, French TV, and then I saw my dad on TV, which was really interesting. At that time, he was the managing director for Virgin Megastore in France. So early 90s, it was booming in France. They had a massive shop on the Champs-Élysées, and he was going through a very tough time. I didn't know about it. What happened is that in France, at that time, big shops, big malls couldn't open on Sundays. It was totally impossible. And he, as a leader, he tried to change things, to change laws in France so that big shops on the Champs-Élysées, but also everywhere else in France, could open up if they wanted on Sunday. So what I saw in this video was my dad literally opening the doors of the shop in front of cameras and police officers as well, with his team in his back, and he was leading, and he was arrested on that video. But that day I really understood what it meant to put his head where no one would put his hands. So I was still young, but I still have this image of my dad, opening the doors of the shop, being arrested, which was, a shock to me. But that day, I think I understood, okay, leading is about, it's a small sacrifice somehow.
Okay, I'm not sure I want to go after you. No, I'll share my object. I brought my passport. First because I really like traveling, but also because I really like having multiple cultures in the company. I absolutely love having different nationalities, different language, talking with each other. And also the final reason why I brought this, it's for me the symbol of what we are fighting against with OnlinePajak. I hate to have to wait for immigration. How come today we still have to carry this thing that has been invented in the Middle Ages, get a visa? How come we cannot get something electronic and I just walk in a new country? This is exactly what we are fighting for. Administrative burden, all the frictions that are all around us simply because we still work on a software that has been built 1,000 years ago. And for me, it's a symbol of multicultural but also oppression.
Right. So I think, when I was on the other side of the table in a regular job, I'll go to my manager and say, hey, I want to take time off. Can I take a week off? I want to travel. His answer would be, can you manage in 3 days? Or if I ask him, I need to blah blah buy something, can I have a salary advance of 50K? He'll say, can you manage in 20K? So those are the kind of things that we all see in the corporate farce, where your managers, whom you think are the leaders, will try to kind of suppress you, or not really. They're not able to empathize with you for no reasons. And this is what when I started SpringPeople, I thought as a leader, I'll make sure that I'm not doing those things with my team members, with my family, SpringPeople family, what I have been through. They should feel good about working with SpringPeople. They should really have a good time. They should enjoy every moment in the SpringPeople office. Right from morning until evening, it should feel like a video game which passes in a jiffy like this. And to that end, it's a very popular thing in SpringPeople. If someone comes to me and says, hey Ravi, can I take off from Monday to Thursday? I tell them, why don't you take off Monday to Friday? That way you'll have 9 days off. It's a very common thing in SpringPeople, and a lot of things like that. So as a leader, what I do, an idea of being able to empathize with my team members is what really makes me feel, yes, I am a good leader. And out of that, I think I've been able to create a good success, keep them happy, help them grow really well, 2 to 3 times compared to their friends or peers who worked with other companies. So to me, I think it's the idea of being able to empathize with your employees, with your team members, with your organization family, that makes me leader.
Thank you. So the object I took to represent my leadership is this duck. So for 2 reasons. First reason is that like a mother duck who wants to take care of all her baby ducks, so I feel a bit protective in the company and try to protect people. But the second thing is that this duck is a huge success. I don't know if you get in one, took one, but people take the duck, take pictures of the duck all over the world. We have many stickers with the duck. Everyone in the company loves the duck. Clients even take pictures with the duck. I mean, it's a huge success, and I have absolutely nothing to do with it. So it was totally made by the people of Zenika, and I didn't interfere even a second. I didn't I didn't choose it. I didn't do anything on this project, and it's a huge success. So this is, as a leader, is to let empower people and let everything emerge from the company, and not having to have a role in it.
Thank you very much. I really feel that now we know each of you a little bit better, a little bit deeper. We have a few minutes left, and I think it's very important that we take a few questions from the audience. So any question you want to ask to our panelists about their role as leaders, what it means to go first, culture, or maybe their personal objects? Yep.
Hi all. I have a specific question regarding which is very related to this theme of reinventing the way companies are organized. And one important aspect of it, which I feel, is how integrated companies are with the academia, right? And what we are seeing is, as the years go by, companies are getting more and more embedded with how education is, and so much that it starts becoming more and more seamless. But I still feel that we have not cracked it yet. What is it that your companies or other companies out there in the industry are doing to make sure that this integration is becoming much faster and seamless? Because again, as years go by, the runway is also reducing in terms of the integration. People just come in and they are expected to run. So,
thank you. Who wants to take this one? Well, you got them thinking, apparently.
I can try. We are opening a school actually in Jakarta. I don't know, many French people must have heard about the School 42. And so we took their license and we are opening a School 42 in Indonesia. The concept of the school is very interesting. First, it's completely free for the student because it's meant for impact, and it's really meant to give a chance to people who would not normally have access to education. That is one. And second, I absolutely love the idea that it's self-learning. It's not an online course. It's really an IT course, but it's inside the campus. The campus is open 24 hours 7. And students are completely free to choose if they want to stay 6 months in the school or 5 years in the school. If they want to focus on networking, network connectivity, or if they want to focus on front-end coding. And that is, for me, how we're going to build the future. It's the same notion of giving meaning. You need to let people discover what they want and give them projects that they are interested in. And for me, this school is you prepare the spirit into taking ownership in your own development somehow. That's what we are doing.
Can I ask you if I understood your question well, because I don't want to, diverge too much. Your question is about how companies are going towards education or are integrating education into their processes and their organization. Is that your question? Okay, understood. So we have, if I may start, yeah. At Palo IT, what we do, we have traditional ways of answering your question. First one, internships. Simple, you have people finishing their studies, integrating a company, an organization. It's a good way to test the water for them, test the water for us, seeing if there's a match. If there's a match, we hire and we sign a contract. That's very traditional. Second is programs of learning and development. And I have my awesome head of HR, chief happiness officer on this side. So I need to behave, but she will also fully conquer what I'm about to say about learning and development. To us in Palo IT, it's a key pillar. Learning, it's not a luxury, it's a must in our organization. What I mean by that is when you enter Palo IT, it's on your scorecard. And we have a career path of 5 levels in the organization, so you can grow as towards leadership positions from level 1 to level 5. And if you don't get trained, if you don't learn, you cannot go up. So we took the problem upside down, and Carl was mentioning this morning about unlimited trainings. And they have, and I don't want to spoil the surprise, sorry, but we don't have this concept at Palo IT, but we don't drive learning from costs. We look at value. What does it bring? And when we select learnings for our Palo ones, we look at values from their personal interests. We look at value for the organization, and we look at value for the future. That's how we design learning experiences that are dedicated per person. It's personalized. You have you have yearly plans of learning, and you give your sort of shopping list. You give your wish list. We look at it. How does it make sense for you as a human being to take these trainings? For the organization, is it relevant? Does it make sense? And for the future, are you going to stay relevant in 10 years if you take this training rather than this one? So that's how we do that. We also, and I have 2 partners sitting in the front row. We have a partnership with Passerelle Numérique, an NGO, we've been working with them for 2 years now. They have campuses across the region where they train youngsters to the work, to the technology, to the new technology, coding. There are coding classes, process classes, project management classes, and we help them we fund them, and we also send trainers to their campuses to train people to our jobs, to our bread and butter. I can go on and on, so I'll pass the mic. But for us, learning and development is central when you enter the organization. It's not an option to learn and to grow. It's a must, and that's our mission statement as an organization.
I add something very different. So I mean, for our companies, I believe the learning development culture probably very similar. We maybe also do very similar things as well. But I want to tag a little bit on the education itself. So I think universities, yes, the people they train may have gaps to their real jobs, which I think is fine. I don't think we should really close the gap. The reason is the generic education in the universities very helpful for a lot of things in their life, and also the future thinking as well. They don't have to learn everything needed in their job in the university. So I think that's okay. It is the company's job. You close the gap, and also you need to create talent as well, not only hiring from the market. So I think each company, if you don't have that capability yet, you really need to bring this capability there. And just other things, even beside the company, we're doing something like we create a program called Jumpstart program. So I saw there are 2 people who joined our, wave your hands, right? So, you did, even one more, okay. And so we create a program, not training people for ourselves, it's training for the society. So we actually co-funded this with MDA, and certainly we are running the workshop based on our many years experience in the best practices on software delivery, software development, and agile practices. So I think through those kinds of things, and we want to create more impact to the industry, and so create opportunity for others. So a lot of people join the Jumpstart program. They were not developers before. They were from different industry. They were accountant, or they were doing some other jobs. They went through our program. They could be developers. So I think those things are like you are able to create talent. It's very important. So I guess this is the way, indirect answer your question is bridging, integrate between university and the company.
Very short, it's about continuous improvement. When you start your job, you will do one job. There's a lot of things to do. You will learn your whole life you will learn. So it's continuous improvement. Zenika is an anagram of Kaizen, a Japanese word, continuous improvement. And there's a lot of skills that you gather and build talents. And so we help people at Zenika leave the company to be entrepreneurs when they want. So we already created 2 companies with people from who created their startups, and we're helping a 3rd one. And I give some entrepreneurship classes, just sharing my experience, so to help them grow and help them achieve their own goals.
I thought we were short of time. So yeah, actually I totally agree with Jessie. I think we see it quite rampantly these days that there's a lot of push for production-ready resources out of college. I think we don't really have to push for that. College is a time to have received the general education. I mean, when mechanical engineering used to be popular in 80s and 90s, or civil engineering, they didn't used to churn out people who can go and design the bridges. Those people used to learn what is strength of materials and then join a company, get trained there for 6 months or 3 months, and then learn designing a specific object or artifact which they are going to work on. I think these days there's a lot of stress, and prima facie it looks like it's an administrative uphill task, just like the passport thing, that people out of the college are not production ready. Personally, I think there's nothing bad about this. College is more about generic education, and then once you join a particular organization, that is the place to have a specific training. You don't have to be production ready. The downside is, a lot of colleges or universities are actually creating those curriculum in the final year where they're actually learning the languages or frameworks, something like Spring or Hibernate in their final semester. I don't really think that is really required. They can learn that within 3 months or 2 months once they're out there in the organization. They have to learn the concept of the computers or whatever industry you are joining, not really that particular framework. So I think there is no rush for that. That is my personal opinion.
Thank you. Thanks to all of you. As you can see, we need to close. Feel free to have a chat with the panelists if you had like a burning question. Thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much.